Welcome to the PMBC meeting of Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. I will attempt to put up the agenda here. Did everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Bring
it up some more, Steve.
There we go. Okay, the call to order. The warrant, we do not have a warrant tonight. I'm not quite sure what happened. It's probably because Monday was a holiday. I sent my comments out on the meeting minutes probably about 20 minutes ago. Not sure if anyone had a chance to look at them, but if you're not comfortable approving the minutes from last meeting, we can kick
Put it
that
off
to the
till next meeting.
So, has everyone had a chance to look at them?
Nope. Nope.
All right. Well, we'll defer that. Shaker Lane feasibility study. Steve Mark is not here, so we'll skip over that. Library update. Brian, I've seen a number of emails going back and forth. Doesn't look like terribly good news. You want to give us an update?
Sure. And then for the warrant, Steve, for next meeting, I'll have two packages for you for about 2 months of the senior center work at this point. So I'll make sure that gets into you and Michelle. There's one in the queue right now that I've sent over to be put on the warrant. And then we'll put the one together for January to make sure that one's on there as well.
Yeah, I sent that over on Monday, but of course that was a holiday, and I guess she didn't have the bandwidth to get it up for today.
Understood. To provide an update on the library, we do have good news and bad news. Within the past week, we had the contractor on site regarding the solar panel installation. They were able to install 99% of the remaining work in the electrical room. I was provided a few text messages of the Solar Edge software platform, which was showing that the solar system was generating power. So that's great news from there. What we have left to do is some final inspections. We have the commissioning agent, and we have the documentation to be sent to LEED. So we're dealing with some people on vacation this week. The plan is to hopefully have that commissioning at the end of next week, and then we'd engage with Johnson Roberts in order for that final submission. From a library as a whole update, the final costs have been taken care of. The closeout has happened with the contractor. So at this point, we are awaiting just there's the final connections on the solar system, making sure that it is commissioned, it is metering correctly, so that there's people that can access the power that it's generating. Steve, you referenced some of the bad news. The other portion of the work is the EV charger that we have, and we're waiting on an exterior meter socket that's to be installed. Our electrician had sent an email. I forwarded it off to the trustees as well as the select board that he's having trouble procuring them. He put the order in September. He's been calling around to several distributors trying to get this piece. His words are he wants it to be done as much as we want it to be done. So I check in with him on a weekly basis. The hope is that something pops up. He can get that piece installed. It should probably be a half-day installation, and then the charger itself can go on its pedestal. So that's all that's remaining for library work at this point. The hope is that we're fully commissioned, inspected by the engineer of record, inspected by the inspectional services in the town of Littleton, and we can close this out. Once we submit to LEED, the hope is we get a somewhat quick turnaround. We get our certification for LEED, and I can put in the grant request with the state for the Green Library Incentive, which is monies that the trustees and the town are looking for to close this project out completely.
So Brian, does the EV socket require a power down?
It will not. No. So it will not.
Okay.
All the infrastructure is actually put in place. The tie-ins to the transformer has been taken care of. So this is going to be, in layman's terms, kind of like a plug and play at this point for what needs to go in. So there there was a shutdown that we needed to do for the inverters on the solar system. We coordinated that with the contractor in order to do that during off hours during the library so that there wasn't anybody impacted during operations.
Perfect. Thanks.
Brian,
Any,
how's the updates going on the controls inside the library?
So far, so good. So it's still being tracked. With the set points that we have set right now for the winter, are still holding steady. So I don't have an update from the past maybe month on how things were trending, but they had leveled off to a point that the engineer of record was comfortable with the amount of consumption that was happening.
Can the light department help the guy out with the socket, or is that something that they?
We're trying all avenues. So I don't know if we've contacted. I can reach out to Dave Ketchen or to somebody up at Littleton Light to see if there's anything that they have in stock. That's a good idea. I'll reach out, Bob.
Any other questions on the library? Okay, we'll move over to the high school roof, and Brian has an update on that.
Yeah, so the update is all the bids are in. We had a good response, a total of 8 bidders. And Steve forwarded along those results as well as a letter of recommendation from the designer, Russo Bar. And the recommendation is that we go with Rockwell Roofing. They were the second low bidder. And unfortunately, the low bidder did not acknowledge the one addendum that was part of the bid package. And then when they were alerted of that fact, they withdrew their bid. So we're going to the next in line, which is Rockwell. I'm comfortable with Rockwell, knowing them from my day job and as is the designer. So I'd like to, make a motion that we approve that and move forward with a contract award to Rockwell Roofing.
Yeah, before we do that, I did take note of the DCAM rating. DCAM is a division of construction. What is it?
Capital Asset Management.
And yeah, so anyway, they're a DCAM rating, which is, a very important part of state procurement, was a 93. If I'm correct, is that right, Brian?
I don't recall the number off the top of my head, Steve, but I do remember that it was high, and I know
it was very high. So I was encouraged by that.
Yep.
So anyway, go ahead, Brian.
I'll second Brian's motion.
Okay, all in favor? Bob?
Bob Romley, yes.
Stacy?
Stacy Maris, yes.
Brian?
Brian Pasquale, yes.
Bartlett?
Bartlett Harvey, yes.
Steve Moore, yes. Motion carries. So next steps then, Brian?
So, yeah, I assume that's a good question, Steve. I can get the all the documents over to. I'm not sure who it is at Town Hall now that will help to assemble that contract, or should we just go right to Town Council? Who should be the one that's actually assembling and executing the contract?
I think it's the assistant town manager. What's his name? Ryan
Ferreira.
Ryan Ferreira.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it goes to Ryan.
Okay. I'll pass that stuff along to Ryan then.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Any other comments, questions?
Do you mind me asking, Brian, how was Rockwell's price? Just on what you were expecting on some of our large public jobs? I know Rockwell's a stand-up company, but we find that on filed sub bids, sometimes they're not competing with some of the lower bidders.
They were, so there was a pretty good spread of the 8 numbers. They varied from the high 3s, which I think was a screaming low bid.
Yep.
And they were, I think they acknowledged, and that's why they withdrew, that they missed some scope both in the addendum and otherwise. But Rockwell was next. They were 489 with the ad alternate price, and they were the next lowest of the remaining 7, but they weren't alarmingly low. They were kind of right there with all the rest of them.
Oh, good to hear.
Yep. And then, there were some companies like Greenwood is another one, Brian, that, typically we see kind of higher prices from. They were much higher. They were in the 7s, but
Yep.
everybody else was kind of in the middle there.
I was really surprised by the range in those bids.
Right.
Brian, do they feel that they can get ready and shoot right off at the close of school?
Yeah, that's what another reason we felt comfortable with Rockwell is they attended the walkthroughs as well with the designer. And that was something that they stressed is that we're looking to hit the ground running right away in June. And there was pretty detailed schedule information in the bid package of, the dates, exactly when Steve Mark gave us the dates when school is out and when they need to be wrapped up by, and they felt they could hit that.
Good.
Great. Any other comments, questions? Okay, we'll move over to the senior center. Brian?
Yeah, we've made some good progress with the senior center design. Currently today, I had a meeting with both Littleton Light and Littleton Water in regards to the sewer design, where we're going to be tying into the sewer main with the town, as well as where a potential transformer would be located. So I think we're ironing out those details. In parallel, we've been going through a lot of value engineering discussions. We had a meeting with the financial department along with the town administrator to discuss making sure that we were comfortable with where we were at the current design development with the pricing that we're getting. So we've gotten the design team back up and moving all in one direction with some of the tweaks that we had requested and some of the value engineering that we had taken out. So we're working on a schedule right now in order to achieve getting construction started before this winter. And if that means that we have to go out with some early release packages, whether it's for civil or in concrete, we're prepared to do that. But we're going to let this design phase start to dictate that schedule. So we're in a good position right now. We're also dealing with the conservation about some of the alternate thoughts that we have about the export site that we have, or where the material is going to go. And then we're also kind of exploring some options as the neighbor residence is going to be available during construction. The tenant is going to be moving out. So we may be able to save some money as a town, is to use that as some field offices for both the construction manager and the OPM. So we're getting there. My hope is that within the next couple meetings, I'll have some preliminary schematic or some design development drawings to show to the committee that you guys can review and provide some feedback on. Another next step that we're going to need to do, and I know everyone loves being parts of committees, but we're going to need to assemble a pre-qualification committee. As this job construction is going to be over $10 million, there needs to be a representative from the OPM. Will be myself, someone from LLB. There'll be somebody from Commodore Builders, and then we'll probably need 1 or 2 representatives from the town. I have a procurement department that kind of heads this, and we take on about, we'll say, 50% of the work, and Commodore will do another, Commodore and LLB will do another 20 to 30% of the work. And then we'll be looking for a couple representatives to help us with some reference checks and to do some evaluations on some trades that are going to want to work on this project. So we'll be drafting the RFQ for any potential filed sub bids. We'll go through what the requirements are that we want. We want to make sure that people that are going to be bidding on this job have worked on a job this size and similar to this. Usually just a municipality. It's not a fire station or a police station, so there isn't going to be any intricate electrical details and HVAC details that we need to work with. But we still don't want to make sure that this isn't their first job that they're walking onto. So this is a very similar process that we had to go through with Commodore for the library. My intention is at the next PMBC meeting, I'll be looking for some volunteers And usually this will result in about 4 meetings, and we can be adjusted to everybody's schedule. And we check in for about a half hour. We provide the spreadsheets, get the information that we need from everybody, and then we make a recommendation to the PMBC. And then once that is approved, it'll go into the bid documents that get sent out to whoever qualifies to bid on this project. So it's not the most exciting thing, but it's one of the steps we need to take in order to get contractors lined up. It will not prohibit us getting any early release packages. The concrete and the civil are non-filed sub bids. So that's something that we can put out a little early with Commodore if we feel comfortable with. But ultimately we're going to want those lined up so that we can execute a contract for the full GMP. Probably around the summer months is what we're looking at right now. So
Yeah, remind me, Brian, how many file sub bids are there? Like 11 or 12?
that's correct. It's usually roughly around 10 to 12 that qualify. There may be a little less on this project as we're still value engineering some of the masonry work. That masonry work might drop down to a point where it's not a filed sub bid at that point. We would not have to qualify those bidders.
Okay.
So, yeah, about 9 to 10. The big players, your mechanical, electrical, your plumbing, your painters, your miss metals, your roofing, all of those will be dictated to by the low bid when we go out to bid.
Right.
We'll have an elevator in this building as well. That's also a filed sub bid. I'm just going through another pre-qual and another job right now, and we're having trouble even getting firms to respond. I think all the elevator companies are either busy or they're in cahoots about not wanting to pre-qualify, but there's avenues to go once that happens about lumping it into the general contractor's bid. So we'll make sure that we take care of that. If we have to re-advertise for elevators, we will.
Any thought about going for a lift as opposed to a elevator?
It's something I know that they're talking about in regards to also what type of shaft that we would need.
Yeah.
Depending on what type of elevator or lift is required, might dictate the level of masonry that needs to be built for that shaft.
Right. I know in the elementary school, we put a lift into a, well, it was just a lift. It was $70,000.
Yeah, we did the very same thing at Harvard Senior Center. That was a renovation, very old structure, the Hildreth House, and the lift worked out great. Maybe because we were dictated to how small of an area that we needed to, but it was cheaper than putting in an elevator system for sure.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go down to member input. Bob, anything?
Steve, I think the agenda that was sent out, the meeting schedule is wrong for next month. We're the 2nd and 4th, aren't we?
Second Wednesday, right.
Yeah, and I think it's 8 and 22 instead of March 16th.
You are absolutely right. I'll have to change that.
Okay.
Huh? Change
That's
that
it for me.
right
I'm all set.
now. Okay, thanks for the catch. Bartlett, anything?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Brian?
All set. Thank you, Steve.
Stacy?
All set, thank you.
Okay, and I'm all set. As Bob corrected us, the next meeting is March 8th. And
Motion to
we'll
adjourn.
Oh, I don't know. I always skip over that. Yes, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second,
All in favor?
Bob Rama, yes.
Bartlett,
Bartlett, yes.
Brian,
Ryan Pasquale, yes.
Stacy,
Stacy Scott, yes.
and Steve, yes. Okay, thanks for your attendance and your time tonight, and we'll see you on the 8th.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.